Mind in the Clouds by Bruce M. Perrin. Narrated by Denver C. Risley. Success in creating AI would be the biggest event in human history. Unfortunately, it might also be the last. Stephen Hawking, theoretical physicist, cosmologist, and author. 2 months earlier, Thursday, November 12th, Information Systems Building, JACC Test Range, Nevada, 11:03 p.m. A dark shape slid across the desert floor. Alan Garcia watched its advance through a dust-streaked pane of glass. It moved silently, adding no sound to the low moan of the wind across the playa and the swishing of the Indian rice grass desperately clinging to life below the window. The silhouette dropped into a narrow gulch about 20 yards away, then reappeared a moment later and continued its march. The hair stood out on the back of Garcia's neck. After a moment more, Garcia and the Information Systems Building were lost in darkness as the cloud floated in front of the full moon. "Damn, I hate this place," Garcia muttered to himself, his mood not lightening as the shadow passed. To him, the desert was inhospitable in the daytime, but now, in this isolated building alone, in the middle of the night, it was abhorrent. He turned from the window. His desk sat in a pool of light about halfway across the room. He walked there but didn't sit. He needed something to dispel the pall of the night. Emergency lighting on the other side of the work area backlit 3 other desks, and Garcia wound his way through them to a bank of switches. He threw the ones he needed, now knowing the set by heart, numbers 2, 6, and 7. They would light a path to a small galley kitchen where a half-pot of coffee sat, slowly churning its contents into a caffeine-based sludge. If it was up to him, Garcia would have left every bulb in the IS building blazing. That would help his nerves, but as sure as he did, the new commanding officer, Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Dempsey, would drop by and he'd have hell to pay. At least Garcia guessed Dempsey was behind these 2-bit cost-cutting measures on this nearly $500 million military weapons systems project. Certainly, in the month or so under his command, things had become more shipshape, or whatever the hell the Air Force equivalent was for anal. Garcia didn't know. Didn't care. He didn't care because he was a subcontractor on a short-term assignment. After another couple of months in Nowhere, Nevada, he'd be reassigned. Hopefully, it would be to some nice 9-to-5 commercial job in a city with a gourmet coffee shop nearby. He was sick of drinking the crap from the communal pot, but until that day, he was working on the software that controlled a military drone, or as his bosses called it, an unmanned aerial system. The official name of the program was the Joint Aerial Combat Capability, JACC, so everyone ended up calling the aircraft Jack. Jack had been flying for months, and to Garcia it looked like a half-size helicopter without a pilot. For the first flights, all of its offensive capabilities, missiles, rockets, and machine guns, had been simulated. Slowly, the real weapons had been brought online, so that the bird currently had both. Jack could riddle the image of a personnel carrier with virtual bullets until it was nothing more than a smoking shell on a computer screen, or he could do the same thing in the real world and catch the devastation in a video clip. The coexistence of real and simulated weapons in Jack's arsenal couldn't remain, of course. Eventually, the simulated weapons needed to become part of training, and the real ones part of fighting. But the timing of that work had been a matter of considerable debate. Surprisingly, military leadership, Colonel Dempsey, and the civilian JACC program manager, Dr. James Marshall from Omega Systems, agreed. With the first live-fire demonstration only a little more than 2 months away, they felt there wasn't time to modify the software.